If you're the type of golfer who struggles with hitting the ground before the ball, this is the video you should be watching, because we're going to talk about how we can fix that super easily with a swing thought that you can use on the course, not just on the range. All right, so I love swing thoughts that we can actually use while we're competing, while we're actually playing against our buddies, while we're out on the course, because you guys know my background. I was a player before I started coaching, so I have tried all of these things myself in competition, on tour. So I'm only telling you guys the things that work and that I've done. If I haven't tested them, we're not doing them. You're not doing them. So this is what I loved to do, especially with a driver too, actually. So this is good for irons and for drivers. And I just love this feeling because it's a visual in my swing. So I know whether I'm doing it right or not. It's not something that you have to video and then go to the camera and run to the camera and then think about it. So I love this, so let's do it. So first, I want to take you through the actual issue when you start bottoming out before you get to the ball, especially with the irons. And that is kind of a tick-tock motion with the upper body right here. And this is what happens a lot of the time that I see in my students. And this tick-tock motion is essentially, I'm going to take this club away because the mirrors are not going to like me for this, is when you go back in your backswing, what happens is you kind of do a reverse pivot and you kind of tick this way with your head, and then you tick the other way. And it's really not a good turn. What's missing in this is a good turn. This is more of a turn. Do you see the difference here? This is me turning versus this is me tilting, and this is me tilting. So we want to make sure that we get a good turn so we can impact much better, and we can actually impact at the ball, and we can get the bottom of our swing to be much more consistent than with this tilting, because the tilting also kind of engages the sway, which, gosh, that is one thing you really don't want to wake up that dragon if you don't have to. So because when my body does tilt, see how it's almost impossible for my hips not to do it, because we know that this feels weird and we're not going to do this. So if we do this, it feels less weird, looks more weird, but it feels less weird. So it's just a mistake that happens as we're not turning well. So to turn better, I want you guys, and you can do this without a club or with a club, it'll be the exact same visual. And you won't really be able to see this from your angle, but I encourage you guys to stand up wherever you are, in your living room, in your hallway, right now, in your office, and you're going to kind of cross your arms first. We're going to do this without a club first. And then I want you to turn, and I want you to feel like your right shoulder, your trail shoulder is going behind you, and then your left shoulder is actually going over your right foot. Front shoulder over trail foot, depending on if you're righty or lefty. And now I want to see with my eyes and my perception right here, from my perspective, that left shoulder is almost over my right foot. I can still see my foot, but it's turning towards it. Do you see how that completely changed my turn, and it's not a tilt anymore? Also, you'll be able to see that my spine is now angled away from the target versus it being like this, like straight up or even towards the target. And that's just by us actually turning our shoulders much better, also a little flatter, a little shallower. I'll show you this from behind as well. Again, get that right shoulder to turn back, get that left shoulder to go almost over your back foot right here. And this is going to be such a good feel for you. Again, now we're turned away from the target really well. And now, as we're going through, it essentially put our chest almost behind our hip joint, our front hip joint. Now you see this from this angle a little bit better. Again, I'm doing a good turn. Do you see how our chest is now behind that front hip joint right here? And that's what we need to do, need to have, no matter how you're swinging back. All the good players are leading their downswing with their pelvis. They're leading their downswing with their hips. So it looks something like this, right? But if you can't get your shoulders behind that pelvis, behind that front hip in the backswing, it's really hard. There are golfers who do it. There's golfers who do it, but it's just, why make it that difficult, right? If we can make it easier. So if you do this, do you see how then the shoulder is still in front of that hip joint, and now you're kind of screwed because now it's trying to like make up for it, and you're never going to get into a good position. So that's why this tick-tocky motion is so dangerous and so inefficient. So when we're getting into this good turn right here, front shoulder over back foot, now we can really start to focus and shift our weight into that front foot, lead with that left hip, That left hip can almost pull the upper body to the target, and it's exactly what we want to do. That's how the best players and best golfers swing. So you can do that too, but we got to use that visual of that front shoulder going back, over the back foot. So I'm going to do this with the club down the line, because again, the mirrors are not going to like me otherwise. And it looks something like this. Boom. So now in my actual swing, it does really look like my shoulder, my left shoulder is over my right foot, and then my hip can lead it. It'll shallow the club coming down, and I will be able to get, boom, to a really good impact. And the sequence is now much, much better, guys. Why does that make us hit the ball better? Because we're actually able to shift our center of gravity and our center of the pelvis forward in the downswing. And I have another video that explains the sequence really well. I'll link it for you guys below. But essentially, we can now turn away from the target more efficiently, getting our chest behind our pelvis. And now our pelvis can lead, and that'll essentially move our low point further forward, because this is our center is moving further forward. Versus if I'm tick-tocking and then my center is actually starting to move kind of back or staying stagnant, which is why you're casting and hitting the ground first. In this scenario, you're driving with your lower body, and the bottom of your club will move right around like here, which is in front of the ball, which that means you hit the ball first and then you hit the ground. And that's exactly what we're looking for. And I know that usually that makes sense with the irons and all that, but with a driver, it actually also works super, super well. Because the driver's on the tee, you have your ball position further forward, and a lot of the time with a driver, I see people also kind of tilt and do this. So with a driver, we also want to make sure that we get a really good turn, and this was one of my swing thoughts that I even used with my driver in the last competitive event that I played, and I just crushed it. I love my driver anyway, but it was such a good feel for me. So definitely try it on all of your clubs, not so much on the wedges. I wouldn't go, as far as with the wedges, because the wedges you can get away with a little bit more centered of a motion. But anything with your irons, with your fairway woods, with your driver, make sure you also check out the sequence video that I referenced, and I'll link that in the description box for you guys, because it's going to just kind of tie the whole picture together. If you have seen that video, this will make a ton of sense, and it's kind of like the added visual from the golfer's perspective to make sense and to apply it the best. If you haven't seen it, make sure to watch it, and then you're really good to go. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I love that you love golf as much as I do. Make sure you do these drills in your hallway. It's no excuse that it's hot in Florida right now or cold wherever you live. I do not care. You guys can do this at home. You know me. This is our studio, and it can be yours as well. And you can really improve, even if you can't hit the range every single day. So no excuses. I'm watching you. Even though you're watching me, I'm also watching you guys. You know it. All right, everybody, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Please leave me a comment below if you want to see anything else. I'm always happy to help you guys and make specific topics that you guys ask me for. Also, subscribe if you really loved it, and maybe even hit that notification button so you get notified when I drop my next video, which usually is at least once a week. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next time.